Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of Scions of the Southland. This time, Masters flavored, as the final round of the Masters goes on in the background of both of our TVs. My name is Akshay Warren, and joining me, as always, is Mr. Jake Grant. How are you doing today, sir?
Well, I'm gonna die over the next 2 weeks with all this grad school crap. But in terms of sports, that's nice. The weather's nice. I don't know. Had some good food this weekend.
Was it was it pimento cheese sandwich themed?
I did have a pimento cheese omelet this morning. So wow,
Ooh,
that's really pretentious. But
you
yeah.
hit the double. You not only hit the egg sandwich, you also hit the pimento cheese sandwich in the
Oh yeah.
same.
I mean, that's Atlanta brunch on Masters weekend, I guess.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. The azaleas are blooming, the pollen is spreading. It's definitely Masters weekend.
There's a sniffle in the air.
There's a sniffle and just a little touch of pretentiousness in the air.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
we do have a lot to get to. I know you alluded to it before we started recording, but it is there's a lot of results on this here shot sheet. So where do you want to get started with the half hour that we have to play with today?
I think that we should change things up because near and dear to my own biased heart, we finally had a weekend with some club sports in action, and I mean it's the big three. So like you can't miss those three when they're all doing stuff at the same time, right? I don't know.
Hold on. Let me guess. One of the big three, swim club.
I mean, how many other national champions are there on this campus right now? I don't know of any. So that's got to be one of them.
Loyal to the bitter end. Anyway, do regale me with the tales of the Georgia Tech Swim Club. Why don't you?
It's funny you say the bitter end because, man, I'm ready to graduate. But here we are. As for Swim Club, they did host a satellite meet of the 2021 CCS National Championships. This is the fourth, I guess third, because last year didn't happen. Third official sanctioned national championship. Georgia Tech is looking to continue its undefeated streak in those. We don't have the results from that yet because not all satellite meets happen this weekend. There'll be some during this week and next weekend as the other results around the country filter in. But we had Florida and Clemson here at McCallie this weekend. Tech had the most swimmers, so got a lot of podiums. I mean, not that there weren't a ton of people there, but it was about 150, 200 swimmers all spread out on the Olympic pool deck. So not too bad. We had a couple records get broken on the club. I think the most interesting thing to take away, though, I mean, shout out all the people buzzing around the pool, doing their thing. But I think we talk about records a lot on this show, right? Because that's really one of the only ways we have to gauge like a track, swimming, diving, something we may not have seen live, but like, the record break always grabs your eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of the times we see, for example, we'll get into this a little bit later, but Nicole Fegans broke a 19-year-old like Georgia Tech track 1,500 meters record. A lot of the things we see are like, oh, it was like a 12-year-old diving record, blah, blah, blah. But one of the ones that the swim club broke this weekend seems kind of like it's been handed around person to person. I did some digging here because I know people that are still involved with that organization. And apparently this is the fifth time that it's been broken in the last 5 years, and all of them were by a different person.
I mean, that's called optimization right there.
I mean, that's called having some decent distance. I mean, one of those was yours truly, so I'm not going to fluff my own feathers too much there. But
as you proceed to fluff your own feathers,
I mean, I got to at least mention that it ain't anymore though.
Get to the point.
It only lasted for about a year. But the point I'm getting to, I don't know. I feel like this is just a weird little outlier in terms of how that stuff usually works. I don't know. I don't know if we'll be seeing that break again next year, just like I don't know we'll be seeing all those Fegans records fall. because there's certainly been a lot of those lately. So I don't know, just interesting dichotomy between this event versus kind of what we usually see with the swimming and the track races and the diving type stuff. So interesting on that. I think that's probably a decent segue to talk about track. I don't want to forget about hockey and lacrosse, but should we touch on them before we go back? Okay.
We'll circle back. This is an executive corporate meeting. We'll circle back. We'll tie up loose ends. Insert other corporate buzzword here. I'm really struggling to find examples now that I'm on the spot about it.
I mean, you're the man who's already in corporate world, so you tell me. But in terms of track, we mentioned record broken in the 1500 meters. That was Miss Fegans again. Been tearing it up this year. Great for her. Also, unsurprisingly, Olivia Moore, who has been quite a consistent performer on the pole vault, found herself at the top of the results table again there. So congrats to her. We had a couple other podium finishes. It was in Tuscaloosa, so saw some other, Power 5, D1 from around the region teams. Not bad. I think the jumps were also notable. We had podium finishers for the women in the long and high jumps. So, that's fun. And then they'll be in town next weekend. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll get to head over there. Maybe you'll get to head over there. We'll see.
I have two quick notes before we move on from track. Number one, and I mean this with the fullest respect possible, Shanti Papacosta is like first team, all-name team in the nation.
Oh, yeah. I don't even know how I missed that. I think she's a freshman jumper. Yes, something like that.
First team, all-name team. And then second, you neglected to mention that Nicole Fegans ran the last 2 laps of her event and without a shoe on. She was tripped earlier in it, so I mean that's how she lost the shoe. And then she still managed to beat the defending national champion in that event and secure second place and beat the school record.
Yeah,
the woman has like steel feet, but in a good way, if that makes sense.
Dude, I don't know. Running in socks does not sound like that's the optimal thing. So congrats to her. Maybe she'll break it the next time she runs it, because having 2 shoes seems to be the preferred method of choice to run a race.
See, probably. I don't know. I don't have a good joke for this. Moving on. Do you want to circle back over?
Yeah, let's get those. While we're in the neighborhood, mentioned 3 club sports in action that we could find results for, hockey and lacrosse. I think anyone who is digging this deep into Georgia Tech athletics to listen to this here podcast probably is at least somewhat familiar with Georgia Tech hockey and Georgia Tech lacrosse. Very well branded, very well followed, funded. They make it very accessible and easy to follow their sports, so we appreciate that. And hockey, I think for the first time, since the first weekend of March last year, actually played a game. So congrats to them on existing. So that's pretty fun.
See, the way that you phrase it makes it sound like a backhanded compliment, but it's true. Like I mean, as a sports club, if you don't play, you kind of just you exist very nominally on the sporting consciousness.
Well, it's really weird though. It's not like people are going to be like, it's spring practice for hockey. Like that just, it doesn't tick like that,
Yeah, and I think some of the other things that have gotten lost in the weeds, the very tall weeds that are a international pandemic. If I remember correctly, they switched conferences in the middle of this. There was like a whole thing about moving over to the SEC of hockey. They've only played 1 game in that conference so far. I don't have the roster, nor do I have the hockey background to really tell you how good they are, but it's a new time for that club. I think it's new era, new time sort of feeling, especially with 1 year off.
Yeah. I went to check. There's actually a Wikipedia page for the Southeastern Collegiate Hockey Conference, so that's fun.
Also, I got to give them props on using the SEC trademark there without using the SEC trademark.
Oh, yeah. what was I going to say? The names people might recognize. You got Alabama, Huntsville, not Alabama though. Weirdly, nor do LSU. Alabama still exists, but LSU and Mississippi State dropped their programs. But Arkansas, Auburn, Clemson, Florida, FAU, Florida State, the boys from Athens, Kennesaw State, Lynn University in Boca Raton, Middle Tennessee, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Tennessee, Vandy. So it's basically a who's who of the SEC plus Southern ACC and some friends, I guess. I don't know. That seems like a fair way to put it, I think.
It's
But
the SEC of our dreams, especially one without Alabama in it.
I mean, if we could play Lynn, whatever they are in football every year, maybe we'd see some more wins. But I don't know, man.
4 wins instead of 3. It counts.
Yep, it does.
We don't need to go there. There's like 5 more months until I have to start thinking about that. I not interested at this time. Let's switch gears over to lacrosse, unless you have anything for hockey. Anything else for hockey?
That 8-2 win over Auburn. I don't think we ever actually said the score, so shame on us. Lacrosse, they're really good. They were, before the season got canceled last year, I don't know if it was odds-on favorite to win at all, but if not, they were highly, highly, highly number 1 in the country, ranked, all that fun stuff. In their conference, they were looking to be champions, all that good stuff. But they went down to Tallahassee to play Florida State and Florida, won 15-7 and 19-10. So some good thumpings. They're 4-0. They're pretty good. They actually have a home game coming up next weekend. So if you want to see them play All Barn on Rose Stamps Field, go check them out.
And that lacrosse team, like you said, I just want to emphasize, they're good. They are really, really good. That is a consistent national title contender. Obviously, it's the club level, so you have to adjust your expectations a little bit, especially in terms of the opponents that they play. But it's not like they're playing really bad teams. Like the last couple of times that they've been in the national championship tournament, they've played some really, really good lacrosse and also really, really good teams. It's just that it's been a little unfortunate that they haven't been able to finish the drill the last couple of times.
Yep. I think that they seem, I mean, obviously there's only been 4 games, but could probably be I don't know, another national championship contender at the very least, I would think.
I mean, yeah, that's the standard at that program at this point. So I guess we'll see. And still got probably plenty of the season left to play.
Yep. Also, Georgia Tech hockey, doubling back on the conference thing. The SEC HC joined a league called the Collegiate Hockey Federation, as opposed to the whatever they were in before, ACHA. Basically, I think that means they moved up a tier, independent. It basically seems like the SEC Hockey League plus the ACC Hockey League. So good for them. Yeah, lacrosse, they'll be in action on the flats. Georgia Tech hockey has 2 home games next weekend as well. I think that's at the Atlanta Ice Forum. Both should be against Tennessee, I want to say. I think the 17th and 18th. Check them out on Twitter, on their websites, if you want to know more. And we can pivot back to our varsity teams, I think.
True. Last thing I'll say, there's a fan in our mentions that will be very, very worried for his beloved Tennessee Vols lacrosse team's effectiveness during this event this weekend or next weekend.
You mean hockey?
No. Did I mix my sports? Damn it.
Yeah. I think we do get Tennessee at some point. I just don't have it pulled up in front of me.
You know what? We're moving on and we're ignoring my poor podcasting error. We're talking softball.
Whack, man. I don't know.
We're talking about softball next. Softball had a very exciting, stressful weekend that capped off a long COVID break. Nothing to do on their part. They were fine. UNC, I think the first club was UNC and the second club was Syracuse, and consecutive weekends had COVID issues. So hopefully every one of those 2 schools is okay. But then they come out after 2 weeks off and have a very an emotional roller coaster of a weekend playing Louisville at home. So Louisville takes the first game. Tech walks off the second game. Louisville wins the second game or the third game, and then Tech run rule walks off the fourth game to split the series. And I think the way that you describe it in YJR and the way that you're telling me that you were going to describe it is this is a win. It's only 500 on the weekend, but it's a win. It's an emotional victory.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've dug into my personal biases in this series enough times to go into why it was a tough weekend in my household to be watching softball. But in terms of like, they were very much in the first game. I mean, yeah, a lot of those runs came late. Cameron Stanford hit a bottom of the seventh grand slam to put the Jackets within one. But I don't know, like winning in a walk-off felt like Tech finally got one back for all the times that they've been walked off or struggled in late innings. You know, like it was somewhat cathartic. Obviously, you know, like you'd like to see more wins.
It's a regression to the mean kind of deal. I get what you're saying. Like it's
you get one back. Thank you.
Yeah, it's the reverse of that luck, basically. I think is the way that I would describe it. Because I mean, I think part of it is the trend has sort of remained. Right when we're talking about those 6-5 games, those 4-2 games, these are still relatively close games against like one tier above competition. But they've been doing that all season. I mean, they were doing that against Clemson, against FSU. Obviously, some of those were more dramatic losses in parts of those series, but they were still. The fact remains that they had those results.
Yeah.
But this, are they turning the corner here on a 12-20 season with like a third of the slate left to play? It's hard to say, but it sure makes you feel the good brain chemicals.
I think we have 9 games left on the slate. So like there's just, let's be honest, there's not really enough unless we go on a run and win the ACC tournament that is going to get us a bid, I think, to the NCAAs, especially having already played the Clemsons and the Florida States of the world on our schedule.
All of the ranked teams to start out the year.
Yeah,
the currently ranked teams.
And that was a brutal start.
And we knew that going in too. I think we had our expectations reset.
Yeah, definitely reset. But I mean, I think after this weekend, you can say they're playing at least good softball. If not, like obviously that first weekend of the year going 5-0, slaughtering basically every comer. That was our best softball I think that we will play all year. But I mean, this is a much better level of competition, and we handled them well. Like the one game that was like, okay, like it's a different corner, it's a different team, whatever. They've ironed out some stuff, I think has to be the 12-2 win, right? Like that's not a fluke. You can't fluke your way into a 10-run victory in the ACC. And that's what you hang your hat on. That's what we did to end the weekend too. So they got some momentum. That's pretty good, right?
I mean, I'm not going to complain about winning 10-2 at all.
Fair enough.
Okay. Let's talk about both of the tennis teams before we wrap up with golf, which is the topic du jour. Women's tennis went undefeated on the week. They headed to Notre Dame and also played Louisville. Where do you want to start with this one?
Well, I mean, it's a little bit tough because I don't think any of us watched these more than just I was screen watching the live stats for the Notre Dame game, but not a lot
of live streams for some of these other clubs.
No, not really. And the added fun of just like this weekend being this weekend meant it was also hard to go seek it out. But in terms of what I did see, handled Louisville, both the men and the women, frankly. I think they both won 5-2. Nice parallels there. The difference being the men dropped 4-3 on Friday to Notre Dame. They got upset on courts 1 and 2, which is tough, especially if you lose that doubles point we already need. You lose the doubles and you lose those top 2. Every other player needs to win. But I mean, could have been worse. 4-3. Notre Dame's a worse team than Tech, but only marginally so. So I don't know. I think going 1-1 sets them up solid for the postseason, right? Like they capped it with a win, and that's good. So
And I mean, looking at both of their rankings, you're talking about the women and the top 15. You're talking about the men who are on the edge of the top 30. I think if you're talking about this team wise, they're setting themselves up for potential NCAA tournament berths on both sides. I'm not entirely sure what the field looks like in tennis, or it's been a while since I've
well,
accessed that part of my mind brain.
it's usually 64, but definitely would want to check before I said anything on that because we all saw how volleyball shook out. So
Yeah, that is true. That did get adjusted. Um, I think they're in good shape, and I think we said that last week too. They're both individually and as a team. Both squads are in good shape. I don't know what the RPI says because you, being the bad podcast preparer, did not provide it for me on this dashboard. But I think they're in good shape. I don't think we have to worry about them heading into the backstretch here.
yeah, I'm not terribly worried. I was actually going to check some of the rankings here, see what the numbers look like on the backside. But the women notching 2 wins, I think that puts them at 14-9. They'll probably move up if they're in the top 16. I don't think there's any question about them making the tournament. The men losing to Notre Dame is tough, but it's not the end of the world. It's not like they just dropped that to Boston College. That part of that's just like a pride momentum type thing. You know, you want to see your boys winning. You want to be playing your best tennis going into the weekend, but it could be worse. The women, I think, are a lock. The men are, if not, they're getting close to, like, they're on the bubble but leaning in. I think based on, how my gut feel for this top 28 or whatever teams in front of them look.
I really need some tennis bracketology action going on. Can you get on that? Maybe we can start a consulting firm for this.
We need more analytics for all of these sports. I don't trust what we get. So maybe that's just me being a crusty man.
Gonna have to sign a very expensive contract with Georgia Tech Athletics for any of that kind of stuff. So, and probably use Excel while we're at it. Which will upset me a lot.
They're a Google Sheets department, don't you know?
Don't remind me. Don't remind me. All right. Topic du jour. Everyone's favorite weekend of golf now ends not only with the end of the Masters coming around, the end of the back nine on my TV currently, but also Georgia Tech golf, which is ranked 33rd in the coaches poll and 28th in the golf stat poll. So how did they do this weekend or this week? Or I don't really know. You didn't really put a time frame in this part of the document.
It was Tuesday and Monday because I wrote about the first day of the Calusa Cup, and we talked about it because we talked about them being in 4th on the podcast last week. But they wrapped up play in Naples, and if you look at their week over week change in ranking, I think going up 15 spots in the Saragin ranks will pretty much give away that it was a pretty good weekend. We finished 2nd. There were 3 top 10 teams there. We beat 2 of them. We finished 1 stroke in front of Florida State, who rallied with a -4 on the last day, but weren't quite enough to catch us. And I believe Wake Forest finished around 10 strokes behind us. They're 7th in the country in the golf stat rankings as well. So definitely good to be handling some top 10 ACC competition pretty well. We didn't beat Oklahoma, but we were kind of like the best of the rest. Yeah, no, handling 2 top 10 ACC teams and not coming a disappointing number of strokes behind Oklahoma to finish 2nd as a best of the rest kind of move is no shame. So, I'd call it a big success. Christo Lamprecht, he's making himself very clearly Georgia Tech's next golf whiz kid. I keep saying, oh, we're waiting for X to break out of their shell. We're waiting for Y. When Lamprecht's been here the whole year, like, hey, I'm a freshman, but I'm going to be good someday. And I think this is a pretty clear sign that, you know what, he stepped up to the challenge against some pretty good competition. So congrats to them.
Would you say he's turning would you say that Georgia Tech golf is turning Amen corner as they approach ACC championships?
And yet I still let you say it. Gosh darn it.
It's Masters weekend. You have to let me get the jokes in. It's the only weekend that I watch golf every year.
And you got to do it twice in the last 6 months, so congrats.
I love it. I love it.
I was going to say, I think it is a great sign. They seem to be playing their best golf of the year heading into the final stretch. And Coach Hepler's definitely got some unique traditions that he likes to pull out for the ACC championship. So who knows? Maybe they'll feel particularly motivated. They just beat the two best teams in the conference. So who's to say? We'll have to wait and see.
Just got to do it again at the end of the month.
Yep.
Easy peasy. Final note, we ignored talking about baseball because they have not played like a functional baseball team in a couple weeks. I don't feel that is too harsh because they really have not. Would you disagree?
I had a breakthrough yesterday, and I want to test the waters on this. We don't have to beat it to death. We can kind of circle back next week if we want.
Are you baking? Are you proofing this take for future baking?
Yes. We're putting it in the fridge for next week if it is allowed to continue existing.
Okay.
So I was thinking, our pitchers are bad, right? Like we have no consistent pitching, but maybe that's because for the last 16 months before the season started, they didn't have anywhere to pitch, right? Like they were what? I mean, I guess, yes, they were on the field, blah, 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 whatever, but there was no more pitching tunnels. There was no, the batting cages that the hitters were using were those ramshackle ones on the first baseline behind the ticket office. Like, it's not like, I don't know. This sounds like I'm making an excuse, but I don't know. Do you think that might play a role of just not having the okay, you're indoor, you're working on your mechanics kind of thing?
But here's my counter argument to that. You can go to, even if it's socially distant. I mean, I've been to batting cage, indoor batting cages and indoor pitching cages before.
Yeah.
Even if it's socially distant, there are still places in Atlanta and in the Atlanta metro area where you can get that work in.
Yeah, that's fair.
It is not, you do not have to be at Tech's facilities. I have seen some nice facilities other places in the metro area.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I was just kind of like, I don't know, shower thoughts, that kind of thing.
Fair enough. I'm, again, they have not played like a good baseball team. They lost another series at Notre Dame this weekend. Makes me sad. It makes me sad. They are still part of the tournament picture for now. I don't, we're going to have to wait and see how the rest of the season shakes out. I think they have 2 or 3 more series left. So
yeah, we'll see what the pitching, I think it's going to come down to how, if we can, have a bullpen that can go behind, the Herder, Archer, Crawford have been okay, we're just going to have to piece together from that and not put the cart before the horse. Cause I feel like it's now been 20 months of us putting the cart before the horse on this baseball team.
We need to get out of this cart and horse habit. Maybe upgrade to a horse and buggy or a diesel engine. I don't know. There's a lot of better mechanical options for our takes.
Hey, if you want to go 15 miles an hour through tunnels that are only slightly larger than London Underground tubes, then Elon Musk has a Tesla to sell you and a convention center to drive it at. So you could start with that.
Oh, Elon. All right. Any other last notes before we wrap up here?
Nope. And I got to bounce. So I think that's where we tell our listeners we will see them next week.
Indeed. Listeners, we will talk to you all very soon. Have a good one.